Autonomous vehicles are here to stay, and I would agree with that comment that a lot of the human drivers are pretty bad drivers. The industry is moving quickly to redefine transportation. Our next guest is one of the leaders bringing this technology to a road near you. To discuss the future of AVs, please welcome, in conversation with Fox Business's Susan Lee, CEO of Aurora, Chris Urmson. A big round of applause.
Good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us to celebrate innovation technology in this wonderful, wonderful country of Canada. And from a Toronto girl, Trenton boy, we are so happy to see so many bright, shiny, very inspiring faces tonight in the audience. And so, I have an easy job because I just have to interview the godfather of self-driving tech, a man that really, I think you encapsulate, you're emblematic of the wonderful talent, technical talent that this country develops, nurtures, and breeds, and then sets off into the world to make great things. Because without Chris, and he's a very humble Canadian, I would say you're very Canadian, because he will not brag for himself, so I'll do it for him. Because without Chris and his technological knowledge, there would be no self-driving. There would be no Waymo. And now we're starting with Aurora Innovation, which is self-driving trucks that will go end to end and drive your products across the country and around the continent. So Chris, you grew up in Trenton, Manitoba. Your parents are from Saskatoon, Victoria.
Yep.
When you look at the crowd tonight and all these wonderful, innovative Canadians, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's kind of fun to be back in Canada. I live in the States, so it's...
But you're off to Saskatoon tomorrow.
Yeah, off to Saskatoon on Thursday, so
yeah.
it's nice to be back, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here and chat a little with you and with the audience.
Yeah, and everybody wants, of course, me to ask you, how does this wonderful next generation crop of great Canadian entrepreneurs become the next Chris Urmson and, build an $11 billion company?
Yeah, I'm sure they can do better. I think for me, I've had the privilege of working with amazing people for my career. I stumbled into something that was both technically really interesting and complicated, and then also super useful. And so, trying to find that thing that's a passion and trying to make sure that the people, it always sounds trite when people say this, but like the people around you matter so much. When you're building a company, it's going to be incredibly difficult. And, if you can't count on your teammates and your co-founders, then it's going to be a disaster. So really, the people matters the most.
Okay, but take us through your history, because you grew up, as I said, across the country, went to the University of Manitoba.
Go Bison.
Met your beautiful wife at the University of Manitoba, and then you went to Carnegie Mellon for your PhD, and then you won the DARPA prize in 2007, and that's where Google plucked you. So can you start this for us?
Yeah. So I grew up in Canada, was a science fair nerd, Quinte Regional Science Fair for anyone from the area. And, University of Manitoba did computer engineering, went to Carnegie Mellon, they made a mistake and let me in. I got a chance to work on cool robots, right? And that for me was the decision in grad school. Was I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I saw this poster of a robot crawling out of a volcano. I thought, that looks awesome. Let me go do that. And then as I was there, worked on a variety of different things, and they announced this DARPA Grand Challenge, was the idea, this was 2003, and the idea was, let's get a robot to drive across the desert between Los Angeles and Las Vegas and do that faster than anyone's ever done it before. And I had just spent a month in the Atacama Desert walking around behind a robot at the speed that your grandmother walks with a walker. And that just sounded awesome. And so got involved with that, worked at Carnegie Mellon, became a faculty member briefly. For my introductory lecture, I said, loved my time at Carnegie Mellon. I am going to take a leave and go work at
Oh,
Google.
come on, let's be honest. Google backed up the truck and said, we'll give you a ton of money if you build this for us, correct?
It was a different time.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it felt like a ton of money. By today's standards, like for a rational person, it was a ton of money. By today's standards in tech, it was not a ton of money.
Yeah, but that was 2007, 2008, when Sergey and Larry said, we're going to pour a ton of money into this unknown tech at the time.
This is one of the things I will be forever grateful and hopefully can emulate at some point. You know, Larry and Sergey built Google, and you know, maybe it's not true, but Larry apparently said at some point, you know, he's deciding between digital library and automated highways, and he felt like he made the wrong choice, and so wanted to bring Google's engineering resources to do other interesting things. And the place they wanted to go first was self-driving vehicles, and this was out of seeing what happened with the DARPA Grand Challenges. So I got invited to come and help lead the team and found what's now Waymo, built that for 7.5 years. And we had a bunch of world's first. We had the first time a self-driving car got pulled over by the police, so that was awesome. He claimed that it was because it was driving too slowly and blocking traffic. We had the data. It was not. He was just interested.
That's your story, your side of the story.
The data backed it up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But you know, he was just curious. He didn't understand it, and that was a really good lesson for me about the importance of engaging with all stakeholders. When you're doing something as impactful as driving vehicles on the road, you have to bring people along with you. Kind of the kind of Silicon Valley mentality of give everyone the Heisman and then like hope you can run faster than them doesn't work for some applications, like the kind of things I've been working on.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So you left Waymo in 2017 or so, 2016.
Yeah, 16, yeah.
2017, you left Google, and then you started Aurora Innovation.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got the wonderful, cozy, cuddly history out of the way. Let's talk about cutthroat competition. Because Waymo has now driven, they said 100 million self-driving miles.
Yep.
You have driven how many?
Less.
300,000, correct?
3 million. So first,
Total.
I helped build the team, and so it is just awesome. Like as a parent or as somebody who's ever built anything, seeing it like survive you and thrive after you leave is like the thing that you want most in the world. And so it's just been awesome to see what Dimitri, Takendra, and that whole team at Waymo have built. And if you ever are in San Francisco, you will not be able to miss the self-driving cars because you stand on a corner and 3 of them will go by. And B, you owe it to yourself to go take a ride in one because it's just phenomenal. At Aurora, we've been focused on trucks.
Right.
We started a bunch of time after the Waymo folks did. We feel like we've been doing really good progress. We've built incredible set of partnerships to deploy the technology, and now we have trucks driving down the freeway 70 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour with no one driving them other than the Aurora driver. We've done, we had 3.5 million tests that we put the thing through to have conviction that it was actually safe to put out on the road as part of our safety case. And now, within the first 4 months of running the thing on the road, it's driven 50,000 miles completely driverlessly. And overall, we've done about 3 million miles of testing on trucks. Actually, it's not testing, that's commercial loads where people have paid us to haul goods with one of our trucks.
Right, but operational in Texas right now.
Yep.
But you can and possibly expand to other states.
That's right. So today we run between Dallas and Houston, and by the end of the year, we expect to operate between Dallas and Houston, but also Fort Worth to El Paso, and El Paso to Phoenix, and Fort Worth to Phoenix. And then next year, we expect to expand across the Sun Belt. And the Sun Belt is this, kind of it looks like a smile across the southern United States, and it's where a lot of the freight moves because truck drivers don't like driving in the snow. Turns out it's hard to drive a truck. It's harder to drive it when it's snowing. And so a lot of freight moves down there. And so that's where we expect to be operating. And it's really exciting because the technology isn't just technology for technology's sake. It's solving real problems. In America, we have 500,000 traffic accidents involving trucks. 5,000 people killed every year on the U.S. roads with trucks, involved with trucks. And we think we can drive that down dramatically. We think we can improve the fuel economy of these trucks by between 14 and 34%. That is an astronomical improvement in greenhouse gas emissions and the sustainability of this. And then say nothing of the fact that over the next decade, we expect to need another 1 million people to drive trucks, and there aren't 1 million people to drive trucks or that want to drive trucks. The average age of a truck driver in the US is 55 years old, and they're retiring out. And if you look around this beautiful theater and you look around any room you're in, everything in that room at one point moved on a truck. Our whole economy, our whole way of life is dependent on that. And so as a company there, we can bring a technology to make it safer, make it more sustainable, make it more efficient, and really reinforce the economy in our society. It's just an incredible opportunity.
But obviously, because for me, every day we have viewers writing in. The number one question I get asked when it comes to artificial intelligence and AI and this next generation of tech is, will robots and the next generation of AI take my job eventually? And aren't you doing that for truck drivers across the country?
Yeah, I think so. The challenge is we don't have enough people who want to drive trucks. And I would tell you, if you're a truck driver today, you will be able to retire a truck driver. And if you don't want to be a truck driver, you're going to be able to take all kinds of new jobs that will spring up around this. There's this kind of paradox that happens that when we make something more efficient and lower cost, we actually use more of it. And that grows the economy and the business around it. So no, I expect that there actually will be more jobs in an economy that's powered by automation in the trucking space. I think the jobs will evolve. I do think that 25 years from now, there won't be people driving heavy trucks. And I think that's actually a good thing, right? That it turns out in America that you are 10 times as likely to die on the job if you're a truck driver than the average American. And yet, we need these people to do the job, right? And I am thankful for everyone who's willing to do that job. But much like coal mining was horrendously unsafe and continues to be, and it was an important part of how we have the standard of living we have today, it's actually a really good thing. We don't need as many people to mine coal today.
Well, okay, so everyone was a little taken aback when you heard the head of Anthropic, the founder of Anthropic, and Dario, who you know, I'm sure, in Silicon Valley. Dario Amodei said that 75% to 80% of jobs will be wiped out because of artificial intelligence and AI.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm an optimist or a pessimist, but I don't believe that.
You don't?
No, I think that work will evolve. Right? I just look.
But that's easy for you to say because the unemployment rate has been going up, not just here in Canada, but also in the US as well. And people are saying because of this new tech revolution we're in, people don't need as many headcounts.
I think that. So I think there's two things to think about with that. So one is I think there's a variety of macroeconomic factors that are probably complementary to whatever's happening in the technology space around this. I think there's both a short-term and a long-term view for any new technology that's disruptive. That over the short term, there is likely going to be difficulty, right? Like jobs are going to move and shift, and the skills that need are going to be evolved. And over the long term, we can still lead to increased employment and increased prosperity. And so I'm actually a little less convicted that over the near term, the jobs are going to be dramatically eliminated.
Okay.
I just think they're going to shift around some.
And I just wanted to touch on artificial intelligence and AI and these recent deals that we've seen, because there's a lot of concern that there might be an AI bubble. We know that your stock doubled over the past year from last year, but recent deals, like for instance, OpenAI signing with NVIDIA, OpenAI with AMD, there's a lot of circular funding, meaning that the money that's meant to buy chips then is invested back into the company, and their concerns, you know, I'll say it, the most severe criticism I've heard is that it's a Ponzi scheme. I'm not going to go that far to say that, but I'm just saying that those are some of the headlines out there. But you recently signed an NVIDIA deal in January, and there wasn't that sort of circular, you take a stake, we'll pay you to use our technology. What made your deal much more simpler than what we're seeing right now with OpenAI?
Yeah, I think for us, the economics are clear. That the business case makes a ton of sense, and it's clear how we're going to create value and how we're going to build our business. And we don't need to structure partnerships and deals that are effectively pulling forward the future creation of value to now in the same way, right? That it is undebatable or indebatable that we need more people to drive trucks, and that there's an opportunity there that we can do the job and increase safety on our roads, increase fuel efficiency, and all these things in a way that I think is less clear about where the value creation will be in the broader AI space. And yeah, I would separate the concept of our stock increasing in value as we've actually delivered on milestones and actually executed against what we said we would do versus the broader AI bubble. And do I think there's probably a bubble? Yes, right? I think we've seen this historically when people get overly exuberant about a new technology. And you look at the Web 1.0 bubble that happened. A lot of value got wiped out. But there was still actually real value created of that, right? Google was a real company that came out of that. There's a variety of others that came out of this space. For every pets.com that, I guess pets.com survived.
Pets.com, yeah, that's
was
one.
Pets one that blew
Yes,
up,
that's right.
and whatever.com that went away. So yes, there can be a bubble, but that doesn't mean that there isn't actual value being created. It just means that we're maybe over-exuberant and overinflating where it's going to land.
So you're saying it is a bubble because Jeff Bezos recently said that there are good ideas and bad ideas that will currently get funding. In this environment, I can tell you that probably in this audience, would you say more than 50% are looking towards AI and getting into artificial intelligence right now? What would you say to them if you think it's a bubble?
I would say build something real. Right, and I think a bubble is an interesting way to think about this, right? Another way to think about it is as a portfolio, right? So the way venture capital works is that folks look at a bunch of possible companies and they place bets, and they understand that 80% of those bets are ultimately going to fail because building a business is really hard. Finding product market fit is really hard. Making interesting novel technology is really hard. And so you add those up, the likelihood of success is low. But there's going to be a couple of companies in that portfolio, if you're actually a good VC, that survive and thrive and create 100x returns that pay for the lost capital on the 80% that don't. And I think what you're seeing is because of the newness of this technology, the clear importance and value that will come from this technology, the economy writ large, and by the way, the size of the checks that need to get written, the economy writ large is looking like a VC portfolio. And so there's going to be some folks who are unfortunate and bet on the pets.coms of the world.
That's right.
And then there's others who are going to have bet on the Googles of the world. And those Google investments will ultimately, I think, pay out to cover the loss for the rest of it. But that payout will not be uniformly distributed.
Okay, and so if you think we're in an AI bubble, then I guess your best guess right now from pattern recognition is when do you think this bubble might burst?
I don't get paid to do that. If I did,
venture a guess.
No,
3 years, 5 years, 10?
I spend my time focused on how do we make Aurora deliver and how do we make that successful, and we have a really good set of partners and work that we're doing there. And I'm just not smart enough or plugged in enough to really understand what that.
Well, let's talk about Aurora and your partnership, because recently you had Uber. Basically, they've issued $1.2 billion in convertible bonds tied back to their stake in Aurora. Now, remember back in 2019, I used to cover Uber's self-driving ambitions. They sold their technology to you and then funded you $400 million in 2019. But because of this new issuance, people are thinking that Uber is now going to side with Waymo, and they're ready. They're ready to get rid of their stake in Aurora.
Okay. I guess I don't see that. What I see is, Uber is not a holding company. They happen to have an investment in us. They've been an amazing partner. Star has been an amazing board member when he was on our board, and they've been great partners with us. And they were clear that at some point they have to take that and turn it into cash. And so they've done that in a constructive way. And I'm pretty excited that we have a shareholder who can take $1.2 billion, and that's half or less of their stake. So that feels pretty good to me, honestly.
Yeah, you know Dara, I know Dara. He makes every move very measured, so he knows
Yeah.
what he's doing at Uber. I also wanted to ask you about the criticism that we're in 2025, and as you know, you started Aurora in 2017, 2018.
Yep.
You know, some are saying that 7 years on, we need to, I guess we need more belief that Aurora is going to be profitable in the future, because we're kind of still in the speculative stage in their view. What do you say to people that want something more right now from Aurora? Show more results.
I think that we just need to execute, and there are no shortcuts, right? That when we're building something that is important and safety critical, we have to do it meticulously and thoughtfully, and we have to crawl, walk, run, and we've been clear about that. And I think you have the investors you deserve. And I think we're industry leading in the transparency about how we've been executing, where we're going, what the plan is. And we have a great number of investors who are very excited about that plan and continue to buy shares, and some who don't. And cool, buy something else, right? And we're going to execute, and we're going to do our best to deliver incredible value for our shareholders. We're going to be a great company to work for. And we're going to do something that matters for the world and do that thoughtfully and carefully. So I can live with that.
Final minutes here, and so I really want to give more to the Canadian audience, because this was you how many years ago, right? 25 years ago in this audience.
Good God. Yeah.
So in today's day and age, 2025, I'm sure you've read the statistics recently, a little sobering here in Canada, because 67% of Canadian startups are now being founded outside of Canadian borders, and they're complaining they can't find mentorship, they can't find the right funding. Do you think someone could be the next Chris Urmson in this tough environment right now in Canada?
100%, right? Canada has the opportunity to build great companies. I think continuing to have a really positive and strong immigration plan. I think this is something that the US did very well for a long time. It was welcoming to folks who wanted to come to America to learn, to build, to contribute. And I think Canadian immigration policy is mirroring what American immigration policy historically has been, right? There's no secret, right? When you're building a team, you want to draft the best players from wherever they are in the world. When you're building a company, you want to be able to do the same. And when you're building an ecosystem in a country, you want that too, right? And Canada is a small but mighty nation. But we're going to have a small fraction of the brilliant entrepreneurial-minded people you need to build these companies. And so having an immigration policy that encourages and supports those folks to come to Canada, enjoy the natural beauty, enjoy the people, and do something special, I think is the right path forward.
And what about taxes? Because obviously that's a big concern too. So, so what I'm trying to ask you, if you could advise right now the Carney government and how we can keep our best and brightest here in this country to remain and build here in Canada, what advice would you give the Prime Minister?
Again, out of my pay grade.
How do we keep more of these beautiful, bright minds here in Canada instead?
I think there's an element of patience, right? Because it's not a thing that you build overnight. Silicon Valley didn't pop up one day and be Silicon Valley. It evolved over 70 years and built an ecosystem of people. And we need to concentrate not just on the pure technologists, but on all the people around a business. It turns out the idea is a very small fraction of building a business. The technology is a bigger fraction, but still a fraction. You need the rest of the people to make this successful. And so continue to attract those folks into the country and continue to support them and kind of create the opportunities for them here, I think is profoundly important.
And final question, since I'm sure a lot of the audience will come up to you at Elevate Tech. If they want to ask you, what next steps can I take to build the next great Canadian company, what would you advise them to do? Give me the next 5 steps I should take.
5 steps. Well, one. I think one, make sure you're passionate about the thing you're doing, right? It is like when you tell the story of a company, it's up and to the right. The reality of living it's like things are on fire all the time, and it's just a matter of how on fire they are. And so, you have to be passionate and believe in what you're doing. To do that, you need people around you that are there for you, and they're a part of the team. You need to have a mission, right? That the mission is the thing that allows you to get up each day when crappy things are happening to go to work, and then you need to have fun while you're doing it. So
Yeah, and work-life balance? Are you in the office 5 days a week?
I'm in the office 5 days
Yes.
a week, and I think I don't mean to sound barbaric about this, but if you are going to be an Olympic athlete, you're not thinking about work-life balance. You're thinking about how do I build the competitive edge that I need to go and beat the other guy. If you're going to build a truly important thing, whether it's a scientific discovery or a business or a medical, whatever, right? There's a level of commitment and investment that you need to make to be successful. It doesn't mean, you need to take care of yourself. You need to be able to do this for the long haul. But, the idea that I'm going to do this and then take, I'm going to be done at 5 every day and I'm going to take, a month of vacation, every other month just doesn't work. So finding a thing where you get energy from it, where you're excited about it, but understand that it is work and it's a hard work, hard chunk of work.
So it's passion and working hard.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Chris. And just a reminder to all of you, Chris, even those in the back row, you can work hard and one day become this guy. And so enjoy your Elevate Festival, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.